Revelation 6, I think. Revelation 6, we're looking at the seals now. Not the seals that you see on the beach, but the seals that's going to be broken. All right, you go through 6 seals. On the 7th seal, then you start into your trumpets, and then on the last trumpet, you begin into your bowls. So that's how that is going to work. These seals we looked at are in a form of a scroll, and we later learned that Christ is going to be the one that is worthy enough to open these seals or to break them, to break these seals open, and each time he breaks a seal, something happens. You got the first seal is going to cover verse 1 and 2 in chapter 6. Your second one is going to be 3 and 4. Your third seal is going to be 5 and 6. These are the verses. The fourth seal is going to be 7 and 8. Your fifth seal, and there's going to be some controversy about what's the timetable here on this. I'm going to give you 2 options. It's going to be 9, 10, and 11. And your sixth seal is going to be verses 12 through 17. Verses 12 through 17. And then you get into the trumpets, and then that's another area. All right, now, when you're dealing with this, and especially in Revelation chapter 6, you also can look in Matthew. If you want to, go ahead and mark that Matthew chapter 24. Matthew chapter 24, which deals with the tribulation. Okay? And that is when Jesus Christ goes upon the Mount of Olives and his disciples begin to ask him, when are all these things going to take place? And that is found in Matthew chapter 24. And Matthew chapter 24 is going to run parallel with Revelation chapter 6. Okay? Matthew chapter 24, as a matter of fact, is going to run through the whole book, through the rest of Revelation. Matthew 24 basically is dealing with your tribulation. Okay? That is what Matthew chapter 24 does. Now, instead of studying Matthew chapter 24, 25, 26, and then coming back to Revelations, we would be in this for a couple of years. What we're going to do, we will reference Matthew chapter 24 every now and again while we are studying Revelations. Because if we study Revelations, a lot of people will study it, and then they'll say, well, we're going to take a break here, and then go to 1 Thessalonians, study that, and we'll get through it Thursday. Then we're going to go to Daniel, then you get sidetracked. So we're going to stick with Revelations, but we will reference some in Matthew, and we will reference some in Daniel, not in depth, because I have a hard enough time keeping on track, as you can tell from my notes, just with one book. But in Matthew chapter 24 I want to read this, and then we're going to get in Revelation chapter 6. I'll try to get into this here in just a second, or I will try, I promise. Matthew chapter 24, this is what it's going to say. It says, and Jesus went out. Okay? This is right before his crucifixion. And departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him and to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said unto them, see ye not all things? See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto thee, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be overthrown. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, verse 3, the disciples came to him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be sign of thy coming? Now, this is dealing with the second coming, right? He's already came the first time. The rapture is not the second coming, because what happens? We go up, Christ does not come down, right? So that word coming means when are you going to come back to earth? Okay? So that is the second coming. So now Jesus Christ is going to tell them, if you want to know when my second coming is going to take place, here are the signs. All right? And this is what Jesus says in verse 4. And Jesus answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. For many, that is not one, that is a lot. For many, verse 5, and I don't want to get real deep into that. I want to stop it there. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. How many is going to come? One or a lot? A lot. Okay, now, with that said, let's go to, let me mark that. Now, in Revelation chapter 6, remember what we just read, his disciples just said, okay, when are you going to come back again? Now, a lot of people will read Matthew 24 and say, oh, he's talking about before the rapture, and they will say, well, you got wars and rumors of wars, which means that's when the rapture is going to come. We've had wars and rumors of wars since Titus destroyed Jerusalem in 70 AD. That is not what this is talking about. This is talking about tribulation. Now remember, when we've talked about this, Matthew is a what book? Jewish book. So he's talking to the Jews. All right, now in Revelation chapter 6, from here on out in Revelations, things are worse. And it gets worse and it gets worse. There's nothing good that is going to happen from now up until the time Jesus Christ comes back and says this millennial kingdom. So don't look at any happy stuff. Yes, there's going to be a worldwide revival. Millions are going to be saved, but they're going to be doing it as martyrs. Okay? Now, I'll go back. I'll keep flipping back to Matthew 24. You guys don't have to. All right? It says, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. All right, stop there. Now let's go in verse 1 of chapter 6. What we just said, many is going to come in my name. And when I saw, now you're up in heaven now, and you're looking down. The first few chapters is you're looking from earth up. Now you're looking from heaven down. Okay? And when I saw the Lamb, who is the Lamb? Christ, good. Open one of the seals. So he's got the scroll and he breaks the first one. Okay? And I heard as it were the noise of a thunder, one of the four beasts saying, come and see. Not Jesus Christ, but one of the four beasts. Okay? That flies around saying, holy, holy. And I saw and beheld a white horse. Now this is not a literal white horse. Remember, Revelations, you're dealing with a lot of symbolism. And John is describing things in the book of Revelations that he has not ever seen before. All right? If you'd have took somebody back in the 1700s and showed them a television, how are they going to describe it? They have no idea. If you was to show somebody back during the 1400s a car, they're going to say, it looks like some kind of metal horse that you climb in. You know, they're not going to say it's an automobile. So he's using words and describing things that he's going to see and on the best imagination he can. All right? Now, and he says, now some people will say, no, this is a literal horse coming. All right? And behold, a white horse. All right, white is symbolic of peace. When you're in war and you want to make peace, what kind of flag you throw up? White flag. All right, now, and I saw a white horse, and he. Now, there's going to be argument. Who is this he? You will hear two options, and I will give you those two options. The first one, and you have to remember, there's three people you're going to be dealing with in Revelations besides Christ. You're going to be dealing with the dragon, which is Satan. You're going to be dealing with the Antichrist, which is known as the beast. And you're going to be dealing with the false prophet, which is the Antichrist preacher. Okay? I think it's going to be Joel Osteen. That's just my opinion. Hey, delete that out there now. But it says, so those are the three people you're going to be dealing with. Okay? It is funny, though. They want to know, who is this person riding this horse? Some people say it is the Antichrist. If you want to go with that, perfect. But, and if you want to go with that, that's fine. I'm not going to argue with you. But let's go back. I will. Matthew 24. Jesus said, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ. What is the Antichrist going to claim to be? Christ. But does it tell us in Matthew 24 one person is going to come? How many does he say is going to be there? Many. So, this is a force of, this is a type of a force of people. You see what I'm getting? It's a military type force. Now, if you say, well, Chris, I still think that's just one person, that is the Antichrist. I'm fine. That's correct. But in Matthew chapter 24, he says, for many shall come. He does not say one person is going to come riding a white horse. He says, many are going to come in my name saying, I am Christ. And what the Antichrist is going to do and how he is going to deceive people is he is going to stand up and say, I'm God, I'm Jesus Christ. And that's why they're going to flock to him. Okay? He can do a lot of the miracles. He can imitate the miracles of Jesus Christ. And then you have the argument if the Antichrist is not one person, but he is a force of people, okay? But if you're of the belief he is one person, and people will say, well, who is that person? I've heard, this is just things I hear, I've heard, and her dad is big into prophecy, he and I have discussed, it's Judas. Okay? Because does it say Judas died and went to hell? What does it say happened to Judas when he died? Goes to his own place. Who was the only disciple that was totally against Christ? Judas. Who is totally against Christ in the tribulation? The Antichrist. Who better to imitate Jesus Christ than somebody that walked with him for 3 years and watched every move he made? Who had more trust, in all honesty? Judas or Jesus among those disciples? The disciples, they followed Jesus. You remember when about the woman that broke the alabaster box, and you're just like, why's she doing that? And all of a sudden, the disciples start chiming in, yeah, we're with you, Judas. You know, she should have sold it and gave it to the poor. And still, and they still could not fathom that Judas was one of them that betrayed Christ, because when Jesus said, listen, when I take this bread and I dip it in this olive oil, the guy that does it after me, he's the one that's going to betray me. They watch him do that, and guess what? They still don't believe it. Okay? So that's just something you can throw around in your head, that who is the Antichrist. But some people will follow the vision that no, it's not a one person, it is a force or a group of people, and they will revert back to Matthew chapter 24, verse 5. Now, if I was to go to 99% of the churches in our area and say that, I would be crucified, okay, in all honesty. But we're looking at this, all right, and we've all agreed that Jesus Christ is coming back, right? All right, so if we all agree that Jesus Christ is coming back, and our mission in life is to focus on the cross and focus our eyes on heaven and focus on salvation for other people, we're great, okay? We're not going to be here when this happens anyway, all right? I hope y'all go up with me, all right? So, all right, here we go. Now let's look at this individual, or let's look at this force, okay? And he says, I want you to come watch this, and you see this beast coming. And when I saw a white horse, which is peace, there is something that this person or this group or this force has. He has a bow. But what does he not have that comes with a bow? Arrow. So he's coming in what? Peace. All right? Good job, guys. And a crown was given to him. He did not take it. It was handed over to him. Who hands him over that crown? It is going to be Christ. Because nothing of this can happen unless it is going to be okay by God. All right? He is giving a crown. All right? And what does a crown represent? It represents power, sovereignty. Okay? So he's given a bow, not a sword to begin with. He doesn't have a sword. Later he will have a sword. But he's just given the bow, and then he is giving a crown. It was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. He is a dictator type. Okay? Now, when you're looking at the first, second, third, and fourth seal, a lot of people will say in the fifth seal, there's two rules of thought. They will say that is the first 3.5 years of the tribulation. And then your last 3.5 years of your tribulation begins when the sixth seal is broken. Some people will say no, the first 3.5 years of the tribulation is the seal 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then the last 3.5 years of the 7-year tribulation take place when the fifth seal is broken. Okay? So, whichever school of thought you want to find in that, fine. If you say, well, I believe that the first 3.5 years are covered and from verses 1 through verses 8, great. If you say, I think the first 3.5 years cover from verses 1 through verses 11, great. But by the time you get to chapter 7, that begins the last 3.5 years, okay, of the tribulation. Now, so we are okay with, we know that in chapter 6, that is going to cover the first 3.5 years of the tribulation, Okay? And you'll notice that the first 3.5 years, this individual or this force that is, of course, ruled by Satan does not have a long period of time to do all this. It has to be very quick. Okay? You only got 3.5 years, so this is a very, very quickly. Okay? Now, let's go, and it says, and he went forth to conquer and to conquer. All right? Conquering and to conquer. Okay? Now remember, this is not only in America, China, Russia. This is worldwide. So if you take a globe, that's where all this is taking place. Okay? And when he had opened the second seal, that takes place. We do not know how long. Now, if we're in agreement that the first 3.5 years is going to be covered in chapter 6, all right? We do not know how long that time period is in verse 1 and 2. But we do know it is not a very long time because he's only got 3.5 years. Okay? Now, we see a second horse. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, "Come and see." And there went out another horse that was red, which is symbolic of war. Because what happens when people die in war? They bleed. What color is blood?
Red.
Good. All right? And it says, and there went out, and he says, and there went out another horse that was red, and power was given unto him. Power was given. You'll notice a crown was given to him, and then something else was given to him. He has to give this stuff. All right? He does not magically take it. Okay? He does not take this. It is given to him. Okay? If you want somebody to have something, if I want my son to have a bicycle, I've got to give him one, right? Okay. Now, stay where you're at. I'll go back to Matthew chapter 24. Now, remember Matthew chapter 24. Now we're in verse 6 and 7. Okay? Matthew chapter 24, verse 6 and 7. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Okay? Now, and it says, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines, and pestilence, and earthquakes in divers places. All right. Now, if you go back to Revelation chapter 6, those verses are going to cover the second horse. Because look what happened. It's going to cover the second horse, and it's also going to cover the second horse. I want you to look with me. All right? And it says, and when he had opened the second seal, come and see, verse 4. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him, and he that sat thereon, okay, to take peace from the earth, not America, but the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given, now, he has now taken the bow, laid it aside, and now somebody is going to give him a sword. All right? So the first time he is going to come with peace, and then the second time he is going to come what? With war. The first 3.5 years, the Antichrist, either a person or a force, is going to set up a treaty with Israel. During the middle of that treaty, during the middle of the 7 years, which is there's going to be a time gap between the first 3.5 years and the second 3.5 years. During that middle, he's going to break that treaty with Israel, and he's going to march into Israel, and he's going to set up the temple, and he's going to start the animal sacrifices again. Okay? Now, so this is all taking place during this time. And now he is given a sword, and it is given to him not just an ordinary sword, but what kind of sword is this? It is a great sword. All right? So now we come from he takes peace. He's going to do it violently, and it's going to be almost as an assassin, because he now has a great sword, and he's riding a red horse. Very quickly, this is taking place. Now, let me look at Daniel chapter 11. I was telling somebody the other day, I forgot how much studying this has to go into in Revelations. I should have rethought doing this. Revelation chapter 11, verse 36. Revelation chapter 11, verse 36. That is basically going to be your timetable, the end time of the Antichrist. Okay? I'm sorry, Daniel chapter 11. I'm still not 100%. Daniel chapter 11, verse 36. Daniel chapter 11, verse 36. That is going to be the kind of the timetable of what happens with the Antichrist. And you can also look in Daniel chapter 8. Daniel chapter 8, verse 24 and 25, I believe. Yes. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. And he shall destroy wonderfully, and he shall prosper and precise, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people, which is who? The Jews. And through his policy also, he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart. This is Daniel 8:25. And by peace shall destroy many, and he shall stand up against the prince of princes, and he shall be broken, but he shall be broken without hands. That is talking about also the Antichrist, what kind of person he is going to be. Now, people want to say, what kind of individual is he? Right. Now, in Daniel chapter 11, verse 36, this is what he says. It's kind of interesting. I think this is it. And the king shall do. Now, this is why a lot of people say, well, this is a person. Okay? If you still want to hold to the thought that it's a group, it's a force fire. And it says, and the king shall do according to his will. And he shall exalt, this is the Antichrist, he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god. And he shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished. For that time is determined, shall be done. Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, that is why the God of his fathers is going to be what race? Jews. So a lot of people say the Antichrist is going to be a Jew person. It's going to be Jewish. All right? Nor the desire of women. Who does not desire women? Homosexuals. Men. Now they say he's going to, there's a lot, root school of thought now is that he is going to be Jewish, and not only Jewish, he is going to be homosexual. Okay? He does not regard women, neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, neither desire women, nor regard any God, for he shall magnify himself above all. And if you can read the rest of that, I'm not going to. It talks about a group of people coming from the north, which is going to be Russia, a group of people coming from the south, which is going to be basically an African coalition. But now, in Revelation chapter 6, back, we've got two horses. One of them is white, one of them is red. We have went from peace, and now we're going to total war. All right? Now, let's get to the third horse. We're running out of time. And when he had opened the third seal, see how quickly this is? When he opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see. He held, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances. All right? And this is what he says in his hand. All right? A pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. All right. You go back to Matthew chapter 24, verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines. All right. Now, you remember in the book of Genesis, when Joseph became second in command, and they had a famine in all the land, and everybody had to come to Egypt. Okay? That was the first time you see actually a food line. Okay? A soup line or a soup kitchen. That was also very familiar during the Great Depression. You see people lined up in these old pictures in these soup kitchens, soup lines. All right? Now, he has gone from a peaceful, now he has gone to a conqueror, Now everything from here on is awful. There's not enough food to feed everybody. Now this is not only in America and on Sand Mountain, this is going to be worldwide. So you see the transgression of this individual or this force, okay? He has a pair of balances in his hands. Now, black, of course, is associated with death, all right? So he has a pair of balances in his hands, or some scales. And this is how this is going to work out. This is what is going to be said, a measure of wheat for a penny. A measure of wheat is going to be just about that much. That's it. This is for one person. This is not for a family. Okay? For a penny, and a penny is was a day's wages back during the time of Christ. So for one person will have to work all day just to get enough food for himself. Not for your family and your kids. This is just for you. So the times have got so bad that you have to work all day long just to make enough money to buy enough food for yourself. Not eating 3 times a day. Eat 1 time a day. Okay? Now, or if you want to do this, or you can take 3 measures of barley for a penny. You have wheat and barley. Wheat was for human consumption. Barley was for cows and pigs and horses and dogs and cats. Now we're living in 2000. Let's just say this happens. He comes back in the next couple of years or whatever. All right. What do we feed our animals? Dog food, cat food, horse food. You are going to have to decide. Listen, am I going to work all day long just to feed my own self, or am I going to work all day long so I can be able to feed my family, but I'm not going to be able to feed my family food for human consumption? I'm going to have to feed them either food or dog kibble, one of the two. See how bad things have gotten out? But he does something that is interesting. Don't hurt oil and wine. Do you know how they would take, back during the time of Christ, what oil and wine was used for? When you would take wheat, you would mix this wheat up, but in order to make stuff out of the wheat, you had to pour oil on top of it. But with the wine, what you would do, if you are living in this time and you're having to eat barley, the only way you're going to be able to eat this barley to get it down is become a wino. Because who's going to be able to sit around just to eat pure dog food? It's going to be used as a chaser. See how bad things have gotten out? Now, let's go to the 4th horse. And when he had opened the 4th seal, I heard a voice of the beast say, "Come and see." Look in verse 8. Let me look at Matthew chapter 27 again. Matthew chapter 24, verse 7 is going to pertain to the last 3 horses, okay? So we have famines. That's going to cover the 3rd horse. Then you're going to have pestilence, earthquakes, in divers places. Look in verse 8. "And behold, I looked, and behold, a pale horse," or in the Greek, that is going to be, that is the color green. It is a greenish type horse. And he that sat on him was dead, and hell followed with him. And power was given to him. So was the bow, so was the crown, so was the sword. Now his power was given to him. Now this is interesting. Power was given unto who? Them. To kill them over the 4th part of the earth, to kill with the sword. A 4th part. In the year 2000, there was 6 billion people. Let's say one-fourth of those died. How many is that? 1.5 billion, 2 billion? How would you say? 1.3 billion people. So is that a pretty good bunch of folks? Are going to die. And it says this is how they're going to die, with the sword and with hunger. So we've covered the sword, and that is going to be back in what? Verse 4. And the hunger comes back in verse 6. And then with death and with wild beasts of the earth. Now, this is something that is very interesting. What is the most deadly beast on earth, in your opinion? Throw me some answers out there.
Lion,
Lion, tiger. Please don't say bear on that.
python,
Python. What else?
rattlesnake,
Man. What else?
spiders.
Spiders. I didn't say scary. I said deadly. I didn't say to give me stuff that scares you to death.
I'm just saying.
All right. What else?
Black mama steaks.
The only animal that has ever been associated with killing a large number of people is a rat. I got a book at home called The Black Plague, Bubonic Plague. It's an interesting book. Back in the 14th century, it killed 1/3 of Europe. One rat. And it's not really the rat, it's the fleas that was on top of the rat. They said, this book said, that you can take a rat population and kill them down and kill 99% of that rat population. And in less than 1 year, they will replenish themselves double. Okay? When you have people that are dead, dying, you have people that are hungry, starving, those two animals that are going to come out and they're going to reign supreme is going to be a roach and a rat. So, if we get down to that, it's going to be with death, beast of the earth. Now, we're going to stop about right there because I don't really want to get into the fifth seal right now. All right? I want to do this real quick. All right? I want to try to get through this as painlessly as possible.
Hey, what was the pale horse? What did you say it represented?
Pale horse.
You said breed.
It was a greenish horse. It was total death, total destruction. It represents hell, Hades, Satan. Okay? All right, now, the 70 weeks, if you look at Daniel chapter 25, I wasn't going to do this, but I was thinking somebody might have brought it up. If I had known y'all had never heard of this or ever studied, I would have kept my mouth shut. And I wouldn't have got myself into this. I'm going to give you the Reader's Digest version of this, okay?
You said to go to Daniel what?
9. Yeah. Daniel chapter 9. 25 and 26 and 27. Do 24, 25, 24, 25, 26, and 27. Now, verse 24 says, 70 weeks are determined upon the people and upon thy holy city. Now, when you start dealing with Daniel, you start dealing with Hosea and Habakkuk and all them, you are dealing with the Babylonian captivity and the Assyrian captivity. All right? And then after the captivities, we studied the book of Exodus after those captivities. That is when you go into your silent years in between the testaments. And that is when you have Alexander the Great and the Greeks come and conquer, and then Caesar comes and conquers out of Rome. Okay, so you have basically the silent period. And we've also learned that that silent period is going to be around 483 years, 400 some odd years. Okay, now, Leviticus chapter 25, verse 8, you can write that down. It also backs this up with the 483 years.
What Leviticus what?
Leviticus 25, 8. And the 70 weeks are determined upon the people upon thy holy city, to finish the transgression and to make an end of the sins, and to make recollection for iniquity. Why did the children of Israel go into captivity? Because they did what? Disobeyed God. Now, here's the 70 weeks. Is not weeks. Okay? A week is also, in Hebrew, a year. Okay? So the 70 weeks, all right? Here's where we look at it. The 70 weeks of Daniel is how it's going to read. In Daniel chapter 9, verse 25, okay? Daniel chapter 9, verse 25. And therefore, and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to rebuild Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince, shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. Who was the Messiah? Christ. Okay? So, if you're looking at Daniel chapter 9, verse 25, and it says 7 weeks, there's your 7. threescore, 3 is 20. So 20 times 3 is 60. If you add 2, 62. 62 plus 7 equals 69. But we are dealing with weeks. We're dealing with years, not weeks. So you take 69 years times 7, since you're dealing with sevens, comes out to what? 483. Now, 483 years is when the Messiah comes. That is your dark ages. This right here. Okay? Alright. This is your dark ages in that area. A lot of people will call this the Maccabean period. Now, if you go to Daniel chapter 26, and after 62 weeks shall the Messiah be cut off, but not for himself and the people of the prince shall come and destroy the city and the sanctuary. When was Jesus Christ cut off? Crucifixion. Okay? So, in verse 26, that is going to cover the cross, which is the crucifixion, and in verse 26, destroy the city and the sanctuary. When did that happen? 70 AD. Alright? So, I had a lot more stuff on there. Alright. Now, that is going to get us to 6 times 6, 69, 7. Alright. So we're up to 483 years. Okay? Now something happens in verse 27. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. Who is going to confirm a covenant? The Antichrist. So if we're looking at 1 week, but weeks are not weeks, weeks are years, how many days is in a week? 7. How long is this? How long is the tribulation? 7 years. So if we have our 483, all right, plus 7, that gives us what? 490. But between 483 and 490 you have a time gap. And that time gap began in Jerusalem 70 AD. We're still in that time gap right now because the tribulation hasn't started. And where do you get that 490? Leviticus chapter 25, verse 8. And thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of 7 years 7 times. What is 70 times 7? 490. Now let's go back to Daniel. I'm sorry.
You've lost me.
Where'd I lose you at?
I'm just now getting to Leviticus.
Are you serious? Let's go to Leviticus. Tad, I lost you when you sat down. Leviticus. I'm kidding.
Sabbath of you. Okay.
Where am I at? What did I say?
25:8. We don't know what's 25:8.
So I read it.
And thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee, 7 times 7 years, and the space of the 7 Sabbaths of the year shall be unto 40 and 9 years.
490. All right. Now, if we have 483, it's orange marker. We have 483. All right. All right. We're looking for this 490, right? You have to add the 7 years to this 483, which will give you your 490. Where does that 7 years, extra 7 years come from? It comes from the book of Daniel when he tells us in verse 27. Now let's go back to the book of Daniel, verse 27. You see how long it's on? Oh, this is the Reader's Digest.
I'm lost.
It says the Sabbath years,
This,
you
that's,
have to be 340 and 9 years.
let me look back. Let me look. Where's that Leviticus?
25:8.
7 Sabbaths unto 7 years, 7 times 7. If we got 7 years, it's 70 years. You have to go 49 years. 7 times 7 years is what?
But go to the last.
49.
Yeah.
And it says unto 40 and 9 years. years, which is 49 years. Okay? So if you've got...
Of the 340.
That's the.
Oh, that's the, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Don't worry, listen, don't worry about it.
Okay.
Daniel. Oh, 920. They say, now where's that last 7 years come from? How many days is in a week?
7.
It was at Crossville. So if you got 7 years, which is 7 days, let's just say 7 days. All right. This is what it says. And he shall confirm the covenant with many. What is the Old Testament? It is a Jewish book. With many for 1 week. So he is going to set up, how long is that treaty going to last? How long is the treaty set up for?
1 year. 1 week.
1 week. And how many days is in a week?
7.
So that is 7 years, if a week is 7. Okay? Now, 7 years. Now let's look. And in the midst, what does midst mean? Middle. What is the middle of 7? 3.5. All right? Lost my place. Now, in the middle, which is 3.5, he shall cause the sacrifice in the abomination to cease, for the overspreading of the abominations. He shall make it desolate. That is when the Antichrist says, "I'm going to be God. I am going to start up the." I'm going to start up the animal sacrifices again, and he is an abomination of desolation. That is where we get that in Daniel. All right? So if we have our 483, all right, we add 7 to us, it's 490. So what we are at right now, we are in the 70 weeks of Daniel, but we are in the last week, or right before the last week. And that last week is the 7-year tribulation. Okay? I know some of y'all are like, I have no idea what you just said.
Exactly.
But now I can go home and rest and think, how covered it is. They're just dumb and don't understand it.
That is hard to understand, though.
It is very hard to understand. I started it at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, 5:15. I said, I can't do this, but my head hurts. I even had Chris come out and I said, give me a calculator. I said, add up this. So, that is what they are covered. And the reason they say that, they're like, what is Daniel talking about in Daniel 9 when he's talking about a Messiah? And then he's talking about the Messiah being cut off, and then he's talking about a destruction. And they say what's going to happen in 70 weeks. Can't happen in 70 weeks. Because it took longer than 70 weeks after Christ became Messiah to crucifixion and to his death and to the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD. 70, so it's got to be years. Okay? Now, and then they say, well, what is it talking about? Well, if that's 483 years, what is this last week? If it's going to be 7 years, that is a tribulation, because he tells us that he is going to start a covenant. And the big thing about the 7-year tribulation is that covenant with Israel. And the Jews love that covenant. But it tells us in verse 27, in the midst of it, it's going to end. What happens during the end of the first 3.5 years, he breaks that covenant. So if you take 483 and add 7, which is 490, that's where you get it back in Leviticus. All right? I hated math in school. That's why I did not want to do this. Next week, we're going to be looking at the 5th seal. All right? We're going to try to run through the 5th seal and the 6th seal. Okay? From here on out, it is all bad. Bad, bad, bad. It is awful. Okay?
You got pretty bad. I suppose somebody.
Yeah, let me read this. Let me read this to you. It's not going to be about math. Let me read this to you. In Matthew chapter 24, verse 8, he says, and all of these are the beginning of sorrows. So, after you get through the 4th horse, he tells us in Matthew chapter 24, verse 8, guess what? All of these are the beginning of sorrows. Who are going to be the most persecuted people during the tribulation? The Jews. And it tells us in Matthew chapter 24, verse 9, they are going to deliver you up, to be afflicted and kill you, and you're going to be hated of all nations for my name's sake. So now it gets worse. Dear Heavenly Father, we love you. We thank you. Thank you, dear God, for this group of people that come out on Wednesday nights, dear God, to listen. And for the prayer requests that we've heard, dear God, we lift them up to you. Dear God, for the good reports we've heard, dear God, we give you all the praise. Not the doctors and not the nurses, but you get the praise. Dear God, we ask you to be with Dustin and his family, dear God, during their time of loss. Dear God, we ask you just to be with us this